Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Bayonne Planning Board for the month of April. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Chairperson Fiamonte,
Here.
Vice Chair Velardo,
Here.
Commissioner Veloz,
Here.
Commissioner Booker,
Here.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Becker is absent, Commissioner Quintella is absent, Commissioner Mayorano is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. All rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, we have the statement with regards to the Open Public Meetings Act Sunshine Law. This regular meeting of the City of Bayonne Planning Board has complied with the Open Public Meetings Act Sunshine Law. Annual notices of the schedule of regular meetings were published in both the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger newspaper. The schedule of regular meetings for calendar year 2025 is filed with the City Clerk's office. A copy of the agenda of tonight's meeting was emailed to the Star Ledger at least 48 hours prior to this meeting and is posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal building and the City of Bayonne website. Next on the agenda, we have the adoption of minutes. We have two separate. Okay, thank you. So for the record, we'll be foregoing the adoption of minutes until next month. So that moves us to communications.
Yes, Madam Chair. We have three extensions on the agenda as well as three regular communications. I'm going to abbreviate the communications for purposes of moving the agenda forward. The first is Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the execution of an agreement with Neglia Engineering. That doesn't require any action by the board. The second is a Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for a property located at Constable Hook East and West, and that is P23-001. That requires no action on the part of the board. And the third communication is Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing Planning Board to conduct a preliminary investigation to determine property known as Hudson Plaza Motel P25-011. And that concludes the abbreviated actions on the part of the board. The next items on the agenda are a request from Bayonne Luxury Waterwalk LLC. The site is 219 West 5th Street in City Block 301.01, lots 1 and 6, of an extension through and including June 13th, 2026. That's P25-033.
And we need a motion for that. I'll move.
I'll second.
And on the vote, please.
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
The next is another communication from Mr. Posada requesting an extension for Zara Realty. Applicant's name was Mohammed Chaudhry, and that's 7 West 8th Street in City Block 283, Lot 23.01, and that is an extension through April 8th, 2026. That's known as P23-030.
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is also a carrying of a matter known as P25-0-012. That's presentation of a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 120-122 West 33rd Street in City Block 143, Lot 28. That's for preservation of notice purposes. As we've discussed previously, because of the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger ceasing publication, we're trying to preserve notices that have gone out for publication previously. So I'd ask that that matter be carried until our meeting of May 13th, 2025. I need a motion and a second.
I'll move. And on the vote?
We most certainly can. Give me the June date. June 10th, 2025. Can I get the motion amended to reflect that date rather than the May date?
I'll move.
And on the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte?
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Booker? Aye. Commissioner Veloz?
Aye.
Commissioner Locke?
Aye.
Next is the matter known as QOZ Prospect Urban Renewal LLC. It's 33 Prospect Avenue. It's Block 455, Lot 1.01, and that's an extension of time and preservation of vested rights. It's P22-032, and the extension would be through April 11th, 2026. Can I get a motion and a second on that?
So moved.
I'll second.
On the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
We move to the regular agenda at this point, P-21-014, presentation of a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 62.5-72 Prospect Avenue in City Block 449, lots 21, 22, and 23, to develop a map reflecting the boundaries of the proposed non-condemnation redevelopment area, and to determine whether said property constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. This presentation will be by Nathan Foote.
Good evening, Mr. Foote.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board Commissioners. As Mr. Campesano noted, my name is Nathan Foote. I'm a senior planner with CME Associates. This presentation is of the planning report prepared by CME Associates dated March 28th, 2025. The objective of that study was to determine if the properties identified in the authorizing resolution and page 1 of our report meet the criteria to be determined as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. The City Council authorized the board to undertake the study to determine if the said properties can be designated as I mentioned, a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. According to the local redevelopment and housing law, commonly referred to as the LRHL, or the redevelopment law, the city has to follow a multi-step process in order to redevelop a certain portion of or property within the city. The first step in that process is what we're doing here tonight, which is to determine if the area is in need of redevelopment. Under the redevelopment law, the property or area must meet one of 8 criteria. Those are summarized here, and just very quickly, criteria A refers to the deterioration of buildings or improvements on the site. Criteria B refers to the abandoned commercial and industrial buildings. Criteria C, public and vacant land that has remained so for at least 10 years. Criteria D, obsolete layout and design of the site. E is about property ownership and title issues. Criteria F, fire and natural disasters. Criteria G is urban enterprise zones. Criteria H, smart growth consistency. And finally, a property may also be designated if its inclusion is needed or determined to be needed to create a cohesive design for the overall study area. That's referred to as a Section 3 designation. That's the point that we are in the process. Turning now to the study. The study area comprises of 3 properties identified in the city tax maps as Block 449, lots 21, 22, and 23, with street addresses respectively of 70 to 72 Prospect Avenue, 66 to 68 Prospect Avenue, and 62.5 Prospect Avenue. Lot 21, pictures of which are shown on the screen, is a corner lot and is developed with a multifamily building that varies in height, as you can see from the image on the right, between 1 and 2 stories. Property records indicate that this is a 2-family dwelling, but during a site visit, it was determined that there were 3 mailboxes, so there are potentially 3 units in that building. There is a 1-car attached garage. Again, you can see that in the image on the right. At the rear of the building, along the Mechanic Street frontage, the property appears to have a lot coverage of 100% impervious coverage. Lot 22, again, as can be seen on the screen, is developed with a two-story frame dwelling that records and the site visit indicated is a two-family dwelling. The building covers about half of the lot, with the remainder having a small, short concrete driveway that's seen in the image on the right, as well as grass cover, creating a rear and side yard for the dwelling units. And finally, Lot 23 is developed with a three-story, three-family dwelling. There is no on-site parking, but there is a yard to the rear of the building. The neighborhood surrounding the study area is mostly residential with a variety of mostly low-rise housing types. That includes single families, houses, duplexes, townhouses, and multifamily dwellings. There are several commercial and institutional land uses nearby. The Hudson-Bergen light rail line is also located fairly close. And there is a large multifamily, large multifamily redevelopment project that was begun in 2018 that was completed since that time. And that's located about 550 feet to the northeast of the study area. In our review and analysis, we also reviewed state environmental data. This data indicates that there are no environmental constraints on the site, although Lot 21 is listed as an NJDEP environmental management system site, or NGEMS site, meaning that only that the DEP conducts monitoring of that property. State planning areas provide guidance for state agencies and municipalities in directing where growth should occur. The study area, as most of Bayonne is located in PA1, the metropolitan planning area, where per the state plan, growth is to be directed and promoted. And finally, zoning. The study area is located in the R2 detached attached residential district, which primarily permits single and two-family dwellings. The study area is also located in the TDO Transit Development Overlay District, which permits higher density residential, business offices, and commercial service establishments. I'll note here that lots 21 and 23 are undersized for the R2 district, and all three are undersized for most of the uses permitted in the TDO overlay, per the zoning standards of those districts. So finally, that leads us to what we're here to look at tonight, which is the redevelopment criteria. It is our determination that lots 21 and 23 both meet criteria D and H of the redevelopment law. The excessive lot coverage by the building on lot 21 and the inadequate parking on on-site for both of those two lots, lots 21 and 23, create properties that are not consistent, excuse me, with modern land use planning standards. The lack of parking leads to impeding vehicular movement, or rather parking and vehicular movement on the street. And additionally, the varying height of the building on lot 21 does not create a pleasing visual environment and is out of character with the surrounding neighborhood. Lot 21, on the other hand, does not by itself meet the criteria for designation. However, because of its location between the other two lots, lot 21 is on the corner, lot 23 is interior, and between them is lot 22, it creates a situation where its inclusion is necessary for the redevelopment of the overall study area. And it is therefore our conclusion that the study area, all three lots meet the criteria to be determined as an area in need of redevelopment. And at this time, if the board has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Foote? Okay. Any questions down the end? Okay. And we'll move to the public, see if there are any questions out there. Are there any members of the public that have questions regarding Mr. Foote's presentation? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Are there any members of the audience that would like to make a statement regarding this presentation? Pro, con? All right, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Foote. Commissioners, any comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Foote, for this comprehensive presentation. At this point, I would look for a motion to approve. I'll make that motion myself, and then I'll look for a second.
Second.
Hang on one second. I just want to make sure, are we okay to continue? We had a motion and a second. Commissioner Lack, are you okay? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Commissioner Locke just had a question that I was trying to answer, but it's not anything that would require us to hold the vote.
Okay, not a problem. Just wanted to make sure I was not moving ahead without everybody. Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second, so we would be ready for the vote.
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye?
Vice Chair Velardo. Aye. Commissioner Booker. Aye. Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much, and I think we have Mr. Foote back in just a moment.
Not even that long. P 24-034, presentation of a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 626-628 Avenue E in City Block 405, Lot 31, to develop a map reflecting the boundaries of the proposed non-condemnation redevelopment area and to determine whether said property constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. Mr. Foote, proceed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Campusano. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Just welcoming you back.
Madam Chair, Board Commissioners, thank you for having me back. Again, my name is Nathan Foote with CME Associates. This presentation is on the planning report prepared by CME Associates, also dated March 28th, 2025. The objective of this study was to determine if the property, single property identified in the authorizing resolution and page 1 of our report meets the criteria to be determined as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. The City Council authorized the board to undertake this study to determine if the said property can be designated as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. The law requires the board to determine if the study area meets one of 8 criteria. Again, listed here. I don't think I need to go over it again, so I will just go ahead and leave that up for a second while I go through the next part. The study area comprises of a single property identified as Block 405, Lot 31, with a street address of 626 to 628 Avenue E. It is an interior lot and is developed with a 1-story commercial building. The area of the property is 6,600 square feet with a lot coverage of about 80.7%, most of which is the building itself. The property slopes down to the Hudson-Bergen light rail line, which is located to the east, with Highway 440 just beyond. There's no identifiable on-site parking, and there's no identifiable stormwater management from the roof to the sides or to the front of the building. Any stormwater would appear to flow to the rear. That would be down and onto that slope that then goes down to the rail line and Highway 440 beyond it. Minor maintenance issues were identified during the site visit, and graffiti was also found on the rear of the building. Up there on the screen right now, you have one example of a minor maintenance issue, just a small crack on one of the windows, and then the graffiti on the rear of the building as well. Surrounding the study area is a mixture of low-density residential uses with a playground immediately adjacent to the north of the site, a gas station north of Avenue E and East 40th Street intersection, and a new commercial development, including a Costco to the east across the highway and rail line. In our review and analysis, and again, you can see up there the slope to the rear of the building on the left, and then the surrounding context, the surrounding neighborhood on the right. Additional considerations in our review, we also looked at the state environmental data. This data indicated no environmental constraints on the site. Property is located in flood zone X, which is an area of minimal flood hazard. State planning areas, this one as well, is located in PA1. That's the metropolitan planning area where growth is to be promoted and directed. And finally, zoning. The property is located in the Transit Development District, or TDD. The district permits a variety of commercial and residential land uses, including but not limited to single-family dwellings, garden apartments, business offices, and personal service establishments. And finally, our analysis. The study area in our determination meets criteria D and H of the redevelopment law. The excessive lot coverage by the building and the inadequate parking on the site creates a site that is not consistent with modern land use planning standards. The use is also out of character with the surrounding neighborhood, which is almost entirely residential. Overall, the property exhibits an incompatible and obsolete layout and design. And as far as criteria H, the property is located in PA1 State Metropolitan Planning Area, which is where smart growth is to be promoted and directed. And so in conclusion, it's our recommendation that the study area consisting of Block 405, Lot 31, be determined as an area in need of redevelopment. And at this time, I would be happy to answer any questions from the board or the public.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Foote. Commissioners, are there any questions? Okay, any questions?
I
Ms.
have a
Mack?
few questions. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
My name is Suzanne Mack. I'm the city planner.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
the first time I'm hearing this plan. So could you just tell me what the, could you go back one slide?
Sure.
Yeah, you said there was excessive building coverage. Could you tell me what the coverage was on the site?
Yes, it's 80.7%. Now, the other thing to note about that, though, is again, there's that slope to the rear
Yes.
of the site. That means that the argument that we would offer is that that 80.7% is itself excessive, but then when you add in the fact that that rear part isn't really developable because of that slope, that increases the argument that it is excessive land coverage.
Okay, and that's because the Hudson Bergen Light Rail is in back of it?
Yes, correct. It's to the rear of the site, yes.
Okay, and could you tell me what it says undersized for permitted uses in the TDD? Could you tell me what that is?
Yes, so I don't have them in front of me. They are included in the report, the zoning table. But the lot coverage here, so the uses that are permitted in that district, in the TDD, include garden apartments, it goes from single-family dwellings, townhouses, garden apartments, mixed uses, pretty much running the gamut from single-family all the way up to more intensive multifamily uses, mixed uses, service, commercial service type uses. And again, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but for most of those that are included in the zoning table, it is, this size is lower than what is required for the uses.
Okay, so you said you had a zoning table in an area need study?
Yes, it's a zoning table based on the Bayonne zoning ordinance.
Okay, so you were just showing what was different from our zoning ordinance?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, anyone from the public have any questions for Mr. Foote? Any comments regarding Mr. Foote's presentation? Okay, commissioners, any comments? Okay, at this time, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? And on the vote, please?
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Foote.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next on the agenda,
Would be item number 8, P-24-017, presentation of a redevelopment plan for property located at 33-37 East 18th Street in City Block 226, lots 12, 13, and 14, as shown in the official tax map of the city of Bayonne. MYK Builders. Mr. Slough?
okay? Good evening, Mr. Slough.
Good evening, Madam Chair. We have before you a redevelopment plan for 3337 East 18th Street, also known as Elk Ventures. We have a PowerPoint presentation, which was prepared by my office. Yes, thank you, Alicia. And so the redevelopment plan was prepared by Sumac City Planner, myself, and the plan is something fairly similar to what the board has seen previously, where in mid-block areas, city's policy is to limit redevelopment to 6 stories, which is what this plan proposes. You can see here that it's located on 3 lots on East 18th Street, and adjacent to it to the north, let's see if I can get the laser printer right here, is the municipal parking lot, and to the south is the Bayonne Housing Authority property. So it's 3 properties that are in between. This previously had been determined to be an area in need of redevelopment by action of city council. The plan here would be to demolish these structures and build the aforementioned 6-story residential building. One of the interesting things here, though, is that the property would extend to the side property lines because it would not affect the any adjacent buildings. And it can take advantage of the fact that there's already a driveway curb cut on 18th Street for the municipal parking lot. So access to the necessary parking garage on the first floor can occur from an easement that the redeveloper would seek from the city council or a license of some kind to allow access coming in the side, which would allow for a more efficient parking lot layout on the first floor. So the point behind having a redevelopment plan, of course, is have new opportunities for housing. And the city has had a lot of interest in having that occur. Still occurring today, notwithstanding interest rate changes, increases in construction costs, because there's still such demand for housing in the New York metropolitan area. And as Jersey City prices itself out, becomes as expensive as Manhattan, Bayonne becomes more affordable. We also, of course, are looking for dense development within walking distance of mass transit. This is close to the light rail station. We want to have context-sensitive building design standards, and we want to improve the city's streetscape. So this plan does all those things. So for that, in the plan, we have the things that are required in the plan. It's context, goals and objectives, development regulations, which supersede the zoning regulations, design standards for parking, building and streetscape design, landscaping, and other aspects of site development. And of course, we have to have a relationship to the other plans per the statute. This is what the 3 properties look like from the front and the back. You can also see in the 2 photographs the Bayonne Housing Authority property to the east. The tract size is 11,250 square feet, made up of 3 properties. What it would have in it is just multifamily dwellings. In some instances, you may recall, we have mixed-use development, but those are really slated for the main avenues in the municipality, not the side streets. Only in particular circumstances would that make some sense, but not in this context. That's why it's solely for residential development purposes. And then typically, other things we have allow rooftop amenities, for example, so they can be used for gardening pursuits, for leisure activities. They could put a pool on top. You could have grilling stations. You can have lounge spaces and things of that nature. And then the other type of things is, for example, we can have solar arrays as well. You can have wireless antennas. Those things to promote energy efficiency. As well as you can have green roofs, and by utilizing green roofs, you can have increased impervious surface coverage. The dwelling types are typical that the city has seen for studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, nothing surprising there. And as also typical, 3 bedrooms are not permitted. When we look at the area and yard requirements, as I had mentioned, the entirety of the redevelopment area has to be utilized in any development. Minimum lot frontage is the entire lot frontage of 75 feet. And as we go through there, you can see that the maximum building height, which is typically of concern, 6 stories and 65 feet, that's quite consistent with other plans that have been recently before the board. Parking requirements are also consistent. 1 space for studio and 1 bedroom, 1 1/4 for 2 bedrooms. Bicycle parking is also required. It has to be typically, or they build a bicycle locker and stick that in the first floor. So we also have some building design standards. We have precedent images. For example, we have the City Line building that's on Avenue E and East 25th Street as an example of the type of design that we're looking for this particular building. And one of the reasons that we're looking here for traditional brick stone type cast stone is the context in which we find this. More, if you like, more modern materials are slated for areas closer into the rail stations, as well as more peripheral areas of the city where we can have perhaps more adventuresome architecture. And you'll actually see some of that later tonight with the 211, 217 project. But in this instance, we're looking for more traditional, though still modern application of traditional materials. So here, on the streetscape standards, where we have enough sidewalk where we can institute the full kind of frontage improvements. Typically that across the building face seating is what is sought. The clear zone, at least 6 feet for pedestrian movement. Then we have a tree zone for tree growth. Street furniture encouraged between the trees, pavers and decorative sidewalks, scoring, multi-sensory wayfinding, all within the standards that we typically have. Lighting and landscaping, you have to have street trees, then also encourage other plantings, typically in planters. And then we have standards for the rooftop and on-street planters, and standards for lighting intensity, color, pedestrian scale design, and so forth, consistent with what the board has seen previously in other plans. So, with that, I present the redevelopment plan for 3337 East 18th Street to you and would answer any questions you might have or the public.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Slaw. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, I know you worked on the plan, Ms. Mack, but if there was anything you wish to add? Okay, thank you. Question?
Hello?
Well,
Oh, Mr. Slaw, we have a question up here.
okay.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, because I
Mr.
was
Lack.
trying to find the dwelling, like, unit per acre, but I have the lot size, and then I see some of the, bulk standards. So I was just trying to calculate, do you have an idea of how many units max based off this redevelopment plan would be feasible there?
There's been a concept plan done. I don't quite recall what that number was. I want to say it's probably 35 to 40 units. That's what I would think are allowed there. And if but that's, because it's only an 11,000 some square foot, so that's about a little over a quarter of an acre. So that's, say that's 28% of an acre. With 6 stories, the first floor will be mechanical space and parking. And then, so it's in the top 5 floors, and typically the top floor also would have some larger units to take advantage of the views. And so I will admit, I don't quite remember off the top of my head how many were proposed, but it's in that range.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question? Sure.
All right, maybe a little premature, but I understand, I'm familiar with that area and the property now. That's a one-way street heading west. Can you explain a little bit about how you're going to implement the parking garage and the
Yes.
municipal lot and
Yes.
traffic movement in terms of that?
So my understanding is that the way that the municipal lot, in fact, is two-way in and out of the lot itself. So residents would come in from the east, and they would traverse, and they would be able to go into it on that, where the municipal lot is, and then come into the garage, and that garage would have a two-way opening. When they exit the garage, they turn left in the municipal lot, down the driveway, and then they would also have to head again west down the street. So it's a fairly typical pattern for one-way streets. They would have a two-way driveway in which to maneuver, and that would allow for adequate circulation for the property. It's not such a significant number of parking spaces that it would affect the ability to use the municipal parking lot for its intended purpose. It's also close enough that you could imagine, even if you had a car, you might well be using the rail station for your daily commute, and maybe the car comes out on the weekends.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners have questions? Okay, any questions? All right, we've heard from Ms. Mack. At this point, any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Slaw regarding his testimony? Okay, seeing no questions, if there's any members of the audience that wish to make a statement, whether it be pro or con regarding this testimony, please come forward. Okay, I don't think there were any comments. Comments from the commissioners? Anything anyone would like to add for the record? Yes.
I was gonna say I live like a couple blocks away from here, so I walk past here all the time. So it's been like that for us. So it's good that something is finally happening to that side.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, again, I stated earlier that I am familiar with that area. And one of my concerns is, don't forget, you have the silk lofts on the Avenue East side of this whole area. So, I mean, that building, that property's been that way for quite some time. So I think it's time to see something new go in there and beautify that area. Maybe it's backtracking on my question. Has there been any consideration with the silk lofts there and the traffic pattern from Avenue E? Because I grew up in that area, and it does gets busy over there between 17th and 21st, because there's only the 1-2 lights.
Yes, true. So when it would come in for site plan, then I think it would behoove the planning board to have that applicant examine the traffic light situation in the neighborhood to see if either signal timing needs to be improved or changed because of those impacts, or if in fact there's another signal warranted.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? All right. I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Oh, no, I already asked the public. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. Sorry. I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. Ms. Mack?
Next on the agenda is item number 9, P-24-016, presentation of a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 745 and 747 Broadway in City Block 139, lots 18 and 19, to develop a map reflecting the boundaries of the proposed non-condemnation redevelopment area and to determine whether said property constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. Site is formerly the Castle Clock Shop. Presentation by Beacon Consultants.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Andrew Janu. I'm a principal with the firm of Beacon Planning and Consulting Services. I think Mr. Foote did a wonderful job in walking the board through the criteria and the methodology by which we designate properties area in need of redevelopment. So I'll go into the specifics of this property. So this property is identified as 745, 747 Broadway. It's block 139, lots 18 and 19. Consists of 2 lots, each lot having 25 feet of frontage along Broadway and having a depth of 117.5 feet. The properties together are just shy of 6,000 square feet. The properties are located within your central business district. The property was formerly improved with 2 mixed-use buildings, Castle Clock, and I believe the other business was known as 747. The property was the victim of a fire casualty back in 2016 and was issued a notice of unsafe structures in January 2016, and those properties were demolished, and the lots have remained vacant since then. So they are actually just shy of that 10-year criteria requirement for, however, these properties do qualify under 2 other criteria pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. The properties essentially have been vacant for that time. They are located within your UEZ, as most of the properties along Broadway frontage are. Criterion G allows us to designate the properties as an area in need of redevelopment if they are within a UEZ. We are also qualifying these properties under Criterion H, which is the smart growth criteria. Smart growth criteria encourages redevelopment in PA1 or priority areas designated for development within the state because infrastructure already exists. We have roadways, we have utilities. So this is the type of property that the state plan seeks to redevelop and put back onto the tax rolls. So these properties were qualified by us under Criterion G and H. We stand by that. This is an area in need of redevelopment without condemnation. And I welcome any questions. This one's fairly straightforward.
Thank you. Yes, it is a very straightforward one. But with that said, still have to ask, commissioners, are there any questions? Okay, any questions from our engineers, planners? Ms. Mack?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that Beacon is a fairly new firm for us. I just wanted to link it to the fact that they have presented on several studies along Broadway on area needs of redevelopment, and they also did the IMTT plan. So I just wanted to welcome Mr. Janu. I hadn't seen him present before. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything down the end there? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Janu? Okay, any members of the public that wish to make a statement, pro or con? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, are there any comments? I will say this is pretty much a no-brainer. Yeah, I think this is very straightforward. If there are no other comments from the commissioners, I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
And on the vote, please.
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz. Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
I will say we appreciate the occasional softball because the other 3 we worked with were not nearly as easy. Thank you so much.
Happy it was an easier one. Thank you.
All right. Next item is item number 10, P-24-036, John and Mary Ann LLC. The site is 455-461 Avenue C in City Block 219, Lot 24.01. The applicant is seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval to construct a 6-story building containing 63 residential units and 71 parking spaces and 1,406 square feet of retail space in compliance with the redevelopment plan for this site. Michael Maselli, attorney for applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Maselli.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, board professionals, and staff. My name is Michael Maselli. I represent the applicant John and Mary Ann LLC in connection with this application for Block 219, Lot 24.01. The street address for that property is 455 to 461 Avenue C. This site used to be a laundromat, and I believe it was it had a fire several years ago, and it's been sitting vacant since then. You, along with the city council, studied this area and recommended a redevelopment plan for this area, and we are here tonight to further that redevelopment plan. And as Mr. Campusano said, we are seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval for a 6-story mixed-use building. There will be 63 residential units, 71 spaces, and approximately 1,406 square feet of retail commercial space. The application does comply with the higher order setbacks, bulk uses. We're compliant with those things. There might be some design exceptions that you hear about, but this is a nice building. It's a really nice building. It's in a neighborhood that has seen its better day, I think, and is starting to come back. And we've seen a couple of buildings go up a few blocks away, and this has been an underutilized site for years. So this building, I think, will start maybe to let that area grow a little bit more, and it needs it. We have 3 witnesses tonight. We have our project architect, Rich Garber. We have our project engineer. We have our project planner. I promise you we will not belabor, and this will not be a 3-hour presentation unless you want it to be. With that being said, I'd like to move our exhibits into evidence. As I understand, it's A1 through A28. And I would like to call my first witness, Mr. Garber.
Okay. We will accept those items into evidence, and we welcome your first witness.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do. It's Richard Garber, Garber. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Garber.
And I have appeared before this board before. My license is current. And
Okay. We'll accept Mr. Garber as an expert witness. Welcome back.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
If I may, Allison, if I may put up that planning document that we.
Mr. Maselli, would you like to enter additional exhibit 829 planning presentation?
If that is what he's going to refer to as PowerPoint 829, let's date it today. There's a date on it?
Yeah.
Let's date it today.
And there it is. Great. So is there an advance I could use or?
While they're doing that, I wanted to just alert the board that I met with Mr. Garber on a couple of occasions on the architectural aspect of things, as well as the 2 variances that we identified. And I determined that the 2 variances were not required in our table 1. And also had the discussion concerning architecture. That architecture has been revised since the March 9th, 2025 plan. We'll be discussing that, and I'm sure Mr. Garber will be presenting that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Slaw.
Great. Well, thank you again for having us. As Mr. Maselli said, the project address is 455 to 461 Avenue C. It's at 20th Street. And we've had the pleasure of being involved with this project now for quite some time, seeing it through the redevelopment plan process, the area need process, the redevelopment plan process, and are happy to present this building here to you. So this is a rendering of the building. We'll talk a little bit about the metrics of it, but I started with this because this is what Mr. Slough and I discussed yesterday in terms of some of the material changes. So geometrically, the building hasn't changed. Any of the density and setbacks haven't changed, but we've changed some colors of the brick and of some of the cladding to reflect the design standards that were just brought up. Now, to get into this, the location of the site, as I said, is at the corner of Avenue C and West 20th Street. It's a large site. Mr. Maselli has spoken about it before. And while we are in our own redevelopment area, you can see that that site straddled 2 zones and was at the corner in the C1, as you see here. We did obviously look at a survey, and that survey helped us think about that, as well as circulation on the streets, think about where building apertures, parking access, and so forth exist. A couple of context photos that were in our drawing set. And I have the zoning tabulation chart here. I will not refer to the whole thing, except to kind of say that we're very happy that in that variance column all the way on the right, you'll see there is a string of no's. there are no yeses. We are compliant based on the redevelopment plan standards that were developed, and we were happy to, as I said before, have a part in that the building was schematically designed while the redevelopment plan was being generated, which is very useful as we work through those sorts of metrics. I'll just read a couple of key design points. Now, none of this is any different, I want to remind, from the drawing set you reviewed. I just decided to make a slide, and I can read this into the record just to make sure that everyone understands here. So we have a total site area of 18,994 feet. That's just under 19,000 feet, fairly large site. Our total proposed building area before you, 86,758 feet. The proposed building height is 6 stories and 68 feet to the top of roof structure, again compliant with the RDP standards. And we are proposing 63 residential uses in this building, 31 one-bedrooms and 32 two-bedrooms. So it's about a 50-50 mix of 1 and 2 bedroom units, which we think makes a lot of sense in this part of town. We are proposing 2 elevators. The developer family is here, and they are big proponents of having multiple elevators in these buildings. Those 2 elevators will ensure that there is not a wait for elevators, but also, more importantly, that there will be wheelchair accessibility, handicap access, if you will, to all floors of the building, which is very important to us. The first floor is made up of 71 parking spaces, as well as a trash room, residential lobby, mail area, package room, utility rooms, and retail. The parking access is from West 20th Street, and again, there are 71 spaces. There are stackers. I'll show you how the stackers work at a later slide. 3 ADA spaces and 11 EV spaces provided. I will say one of the comments I think in the CME document was we are providing a 10-foot curb cut and a 12-foot garage door. It was suggested we expand those to 16. We have no problem doing that. We do propose the less wide curb cuts to make room for street parking, but we have no problem with a 16-foot cut in the street. We are utilizing the green roof bonus that was written into the redevelopment plan. And the thought there is that the green roof area offsets the building coverage at a ratio of 2 to 1. So we're proposing a 3,600 square foot green roof. And in doing that, we are at, basically, we can increase the building coverage, and you'll see that in the site plan. That's near 100% on the ground floor, and we'll see what that looks like in the plan. So, so this is our proposed site plan. We do have a civil engineer here who can speak a little bit about this, but what I've articulated on this site plan is the solid triangle is our vehicular entrance. So that's where the cars come in. That's where we can widen that curb cut if you'd like. No problem there. And then we have a series of hollow triangles, and that's where ingress and egress for pedestrians happen. Now, you'll see the way that this is organized. We have a catty corner cut for a retail space on the corner. That's something that we worked out in conversation with Councilman Weimer, as well as building access in the lobby, which is on 20th Street as well. And then we have a secondary ingress and egress that you can see in the lower left on Avenue C from the parking garage. This is a plan just showing our bike path and trash removal. We are proposing bike spaces here. I think there's a total of 30 bike spaces provided, if I'm not mistaken, that you can see that the bike storage is in the rear corner of the building, and access would be out through the garage. Trash is all maintained through a trash room that is internal to the building. It is aligned with the floors above, and that would also come out the garage. So trash would be kept inside the building, recycling would be kept inside the building, and only brought out on during collection periods. I've tried to color code the plan a little bit to make sure that everyone understands the intention. And so starting from the left, the sort of purple space on the corner is the retail space. There's about almost 1,500 square feet of retail, 1,473, I think, square feet. And you can see that there is a catty corner cut on that corner, which was, again, a kind of favorite ask of the councilwoman that I've come to know, and something that we're happy to provide. So retail on the corner. Directly to the right of that are some building infrastructure spaces that are shown in orange, which includes a transformer vault. Transformer vault is something that you see in buildings this size and larger. PSE&G houses equipment in there, and access is required for the utility right from, in this case, 20th Street. Our residential lobby is basically in the middle of the building, and you can see in, let's see, residential lobby there. And then flanking it, we have the 2 elevators, 1 stair, and a 2nd stair. So those basically make our egress system. And you see our 11 EV charging spaces that are massed near the entry to the garage. We have a mechanical room, and then the bike storage in the rear corners of the building. So this is our ground floor plan, mostly given to parking. Now, the second floor plan, the plans basically stack, but we generally have a mix of, through the next series of plans, 8 one-bedrooms and 5 two-bedrooms per floor. The second floor is a little bit different in that we can take advantage of the roof over the parking and create private deck spaces for the, for some of these units that face the rear of the building. And we are proposing an amenity space, a gym here as well, which we think will be really great. We've tried to minimize the hallway, sort of minimizing the loss, if you will, in the building, and making sure that it's a very tight and compact egress footprint. I can take questions if need be on the residential units, but as I said, it's an almost 50-50 mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms that we think are nicely laid out. That floor plan stacks. You see on the 3rd and 4th floors a 25-foot setback in the rear. That is important, and that's something that was written into the plan. We are full lot on the corner of 20th and Avenue C, and that goes all the way following on Avenue C. So there is not, we are at the lot line for this small portion of the building at Avenue, on Avenue C. Moving forward, 5th floor stacks. I'll go to the 6th floor because that's the sort of the floor where there's a little bit more articulation, and you'll see in a kind of mansard-esque roof that we're proposing, where we have a series of common roof decks. So instead of putting a roof deck on top of this building, we have a series of 3 roof decks of varying sizes. They're fairly nicely sized on the front of the building that face 20th Street. And so you see how they are accessed there. We do have a green buffer. That's something that was in one of the reports. There is a green buffer that separates these roof decks from the street. I think that green buffer is 5 feet deep. And you can see that the setbacks are maintained. We have a 25-foot setback in the rear, and then an 18-foot 2-inch setback on the side here. And then this is a minimum of 12. It's a 12-foot 2-inch setback here. I should have also mentioned before that this side yard here is planted, and that's something that may not have been clear. Our civil engineer can speak to that. The roof plan is very straightforward. There is no roof access for residents, right? And so we don't have an elevator going up to the building. We only have 1 stair, the building's roof, only 1 stair going up. But you do see we're taking advantage of a very, very large 3,600 square foot green roof system that is centered on that roof, which is participating in the stormwater management of the building, right? In terms of the elevations, maybe I'll just go to the rendering. Everyone has seen the elevations, but just to talk about the materials because they've changed a little bit. So what we've decided to do, because this is a relatively long building, there's a lot of frontage, right? We wanted to use the materials that are set forth in the design standards, which were developed, in collaboration. And so what we've really decided to do is a series of red brick that basically holds the edges of the building. So we have red brick at the corner, and then 3 instances of red brick that is proud, that is basically out to our front yard setback. and you can see this overhangs creating a little canopy. It's not in the right-of-way, it just comes to our setback that allows for some coverage over the retail entry as well as the residential entries. We've, as a way of holding the street wall at 4 stories, we have a mansard-type almost roof that basically steps back, so there's a slight angle here on the building on both sides of it for the upper 2 stories, and we have windows that are punched through there. That roof-style facade is a standing seam aluminum anodized. It's finished, so you can actually see the metal finish through. It's a kind of matte finish, silver gray, and we're picking up on that with some of the window detailing below, where we're playfully kind of iterating the location of some metal panel with respect to windows. Now, the building sets in these 4 spaces here. That's a darker colored brick. So we're using a darker colored brick to differentiate, to break up the building horizontally along Avenue C and West 20th Street. And then we have, where we're inset, you can see that up here, a darker standing seam metal panel. So all the roof material, metal panel, 2 shades, a kind of light silver gray and a darker gray. And then the main cladding material is a brick. We have primarily red brick that holds the corner, and the red brick ties back to some of the older structures down the block, as well as a darker gray brick, which we think is tasteful, which we think matches the building. That is shown, you can see it here in the axonometric that also shows the roof deck, but that is shown, as I said, in the elevations that I've shown in 2D here as well. Now, on the sides of the building, it's just a stucco, sealed, and so you can see the kind of rhythm of buildings. This is the rear elevation. So you see the rhythm of windows for those rear units that are within that setback area that I showed you before. And you can see here how that roof begins to slope that you saw in the perspective as well, which we think is a nice touch. Other than that, you see we wanted to show a zoomed-in elevation. There were some questions of how we were treating the lower level of the building, and you can see there are a series of grates to provide some airflow into parking, as well as storefront-style glass windows, and those windows are utilized near floor-to-ceiling height for both the building entry, which happens on 20th Street, as well as the retail space that happens on the corner. And this brick on the lower level matches that darker gray brick that I spoke about before. And then you see here our garage door. That garage door, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, can be expanded to 16 feet. There's no detriment to the aesthetics of the building in doing that, so we have no problem doing that. And then I think finally, I would just show how the stackers work in case there's some question about that. These are 3-position stackers. They are something that we've worked out at TRCs, I think on other projects here. But the whole idea of the 3-position stacker is there's a pit. And so the entire mechanism can move 2 cars down so the upper car can be pulled out without the lower car having to be moved, right? So there were some questions that we got from CME and some of the review engineers, actually on another project, about how you get the top car down if there's a car parked under it. And the solution is this 3-position mechanism. Now that 3-position mechanism, like any stacker, does require a little bit more floor-to-ceiling height in the garage. I think it's a minimum of 14 feet, but that's something that's been imagined and managed through design in terms of our proposal here. So you get a sense of what happens with that stacker. Just very quickly to show the axonometric of the building. So you see those 3 roof decks on West 20th Street with the green buffer. You see the 3,600 square foot green roof, and you see that mansard-esque roof that we've imagined here with the proud red brick and the setback gray brick that we think sets up a nice rhythm on the street. And I think I'll leave the rendering up and conclude my presentation there. So thank you.
Mr. Garber, if I could just circle back on a couple of things. The setbacks to this building all comply with the redevelopment plan. I know you mentioned that. In that, the surface materials in the area between the proposed buildings, I know you're not going to get into detail, but that's going to be a landscape material
Yes.
in that setback area, right?
That's correct.
So it will be pervious as opposed to
That's
impervious.
And
Let's go to.
it counts in the stormwater calculations that I believe were submitted.
Right, okay, so unit sizes, we're compliant, all the unit sizes for all these, for the units, from top
Yes.
to bottom, all comply?
Yes.
Unit design, all of them have an exterior window, all of the units? And they all have the basic amenities that are required in the redevelopment plan, washer, dryer,
Yes, of
cables? And there are no dens that qualify as extra bedrooms in this design, right? Mechanical equipment, we're gonna have some mechanical equipment, are we gonna, if, on the roof or anywhere, is it gonna be properly screened? Is anybody gonna see the mechanical
No,
equipment on this
and so
property?
typically when we screen with sound attenuated fences, this is a builder that has built buildings like this before, they know the drill, and we'll make sure that that's handled.
And will meet state noise standards, correct?
Correct.
The ventilation for this building will be active as opposed to passive?
Yeah, so we haven't hired an MEP consultant to work with us on this yet, but the assumption is it will all be active, including in the garage. That's something that ultimately needs to be studied,
Okay.
but yes.
EVs, we have a compliant number of EV spaces proposed for this site now?
We do.
And those pursuant to the redevelopment plan are located to the greatest extent possible near the exits?
We've located them, I'm just trying to get back to that plan. If you remember from the graphic, the EV spaces are all located flanking the garage entry. So there are 3 here, and then there are 8, I believe, here.
Bike spaces, I think you said there were 30, am I wrong? I think it's 36. I just want to make sure we're clear so that we don't have,
I think I
remembered that?
Eyes.
Okay,
Eyes.
all right. No, hey,
36 sounds right.
What do you think I got these for? Access. There were comments in, I think, both reports about providing multisensory wayfinding for the vision and hearing impaired. Are we amenable to
Yes, we have
putting that on the site plan?
No problem with that.
How about color stamped concrete aprons at the site driveway?
No
to-
problem with that
Yeah,
at all.
as a differentiation. Security for the building. Will there be cameras, or how will the building be secured?
Yeah, there's magnetic locks, there's cameras. Again, builder has built buildings of this scale before, and so is very knowledgeable of the standards that are expected in these types of multifamily buildings.
Trash and recycling, private hauler, as with other buildings. There's a requirement in the redevelopment plan that we provide a refuse and recycling plan. If this application's approved, do you agree to do that as a condition of approval?
I showed it in our plan.
Okay.
I showed it here.
The redevelopment plan requires that we show that we could achieve LEED Silver certification. Knowing what you know about the building now, as design gets further, we'll know more. But can we achieve a LEED Silver certification? Not saying that we're going to get it.
Yes.
It's not required, but we'll do the mix of things and
Yes.
submit a worksheet to prove that, correct?
That is fine.
Signage, what kind of signage are we putting on the building?
So you can see in we usually like putting a kind of stainless steel backlit channel letter, which is compliant with the redevelopment plan. You can see, we just have the generic term retail here, but you get a sense. These are, I think, about 12 inches tall, so you'd have some signage at the retail entry, and you'd have some signage at the building lobby as well.
And those will be compliant with whatever the regulations in the redevelopment plan are?
That's correct.
Okay, there's also a requirement in the redevelopment plan that we submit a sort of a phasing plan, a construction staging plan. If this were approved, would we agree to do that as a condition of approval?
Yes.
Now, just to move back to Mr. Slough's report, I know the variances that are listed on page 16 of his report dated March 9th, 2025, that we've agreed that those don't apply. There was a list of design exceptions, and I just want to make sure that we've adequately addressed those in Mr. Slough's eyes, and that you think that you've gotten everything on the record to address these.
Yeah, I attempted to cover what we discussed yesterday, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I believe we've addressed them.
Okay. I think, let me just do one quick circle back and make sure. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Garber?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Sure.
I didn't get during the presentation the access into the parking lot. the parking space? Is through the 20 of Avenue C?
20.
It's on 20th. I'll
20th
show you.
Street.
20.
Yeah,
Entrance?
Yes.
The entrance is on 20th Street.
side
So I
street.
showed that in the site plan, which is here. Remember, I
There's a
talked about the
triangle.
full triangle, so it's right here?
It's the triangle,
Yeah.
in the back, atop. So on 20th Street towards
On
the
20th
car
Street.
wash? Yeah,
Through the car wash?
yeah, towards the car wash.
Okay. The second question I will have is, because I thought about Avenue C would be very difficult entrance due to the fact it's two-way. On 20th Street will be more affordable, I get, or permitted to do. However, I would like to know, I didn't hear about the storm water. Right, about that, how do you maintenance, management, and
Yeah, so we have a stormwater report that's been submitted, and we have a civil engineer who will testify after me that can speak to that. Yeah.
And about the recycling and garbage collection,
Yep.
do the building will have chute, so each floor will drop the
Correct.
garbage and go into the compartment in the first floor?
Correct. Basically, the way that we like designing these buildings is there's a dedicated chute, and that chute is a portion of a dedicated closet on every floor that allows for the temporary storage of trash and recycling at every floor. There'd be a building super or a maintenance company that comes in, collects the trash, the recycling from the floor, brings it down. The trash goes down the chute to the compactor. The compactor
compactor, okay.
compacts it, and it can be brought out. Yeah,
Okay,
fairly simple.
so do you estimate how many days will be collecting the private hauler? 2 days, the week, or 1 week?
I can't totally speak to that because of use right now, but I would guess it's obviously going to be a minimum of one. It probably is two, but I think, the owners are pretty responsible folks. I mean, they'll look at demand and figure.
And the other question will be about the collect of the garbage and recycle. Will have enough space to turn around in the parking lot, in the parking space?
I think what they'll do.
It comes out.
Yeah,
It's
it comes
held-
out.
it's stored in the building, and it comes out for pickup.
Right.
Remember, I had a plan that showed that somewhere.
Right, a private hauler, there'll be times that they're scheduled to come pick it up, and when it is, they'll drag it out, and it won't sit on the curb overnight,
So
if that's what your concern
Right.
is.
We submitted a drawing that shows both the trash removal plan that speaks to that.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners have questions? Okay, I'll move down the end. Ms. Mack, questions?
Hi, Mr. Garber, it's nice to see you again.
See you, Ms. Mack.
We work a lot on different projects. I just had a question. I wasn't aware that the green roof would not have access from the building. Could you just talk to me a little bit more about that? Because that seems to me, I know it probably, I'll defer to Mr. Slough, probably does fit our redevelopment plan, which I wrote, but could you explain to me why the roof doesn't have access?
Yeah, so this is really the way that this family likes building their buildings. So they minimize the access on the roof and really just leave the roof for green roof for stormwater management as well as mechanical equipment. And they provide roof deck access, in this case, at the 2nd and 6th floor. So there is outdoor space, there's plenty of outdoor access. But there's just not a single deck on the roof. They actually, we've had some very interesting conversations, but they don't like having tenants up on the roof.
Okay, but you do meet the open space requirement?
We do meet the
of
open
building.
space requirement.
Thank you, thanks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions down the end? Mr. Slaw?
Yes, I have a few things. And some of it is commentary, because we have a lot of questions here about the design issues. So I'd like to just kind of go through them, make sure that we're all on the same page.
Sure.
Your testimony was 3,600 square feet of green roof, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's a change from previous, but.
No, I read your report. I think where you were getting 4692, if I remember correctly. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, and I could be wrong about this, I think that your calculation also took into account this 12-foot setback on 20th Street that goes all the way back. That,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
that's about an extra 1,000 or so square feet to my knowledge, and that would get us to that number. So that's how I
makes
assumed you
sense.
got there.
It was probably reading as on top of the roof, but it wasn't. Okay, that makes sense. Did you testify as to whether the units would have access for cable television and internet connection?
I didn't say anything about that, but they would, yes.
System for the garage, did you indicate whether it was active or passive?
The way that I addressed that was suggested that we would kind of refine my answer once an MEP consultant is brought in. In a perfect world, I would love to have it as passive. I ultimately suspect we're not going to have as much open space as needed, and we will have to shift to an active system, but that's something that will be studied.
Okay. In the redevelopment plan building design requirements, so if people are following along, that's 5.1. In our view, the applicant is creating a modern version of Second Empire style with the mansard roof design. And so it's actually not a building face where the metal panel is proposed, it's a roof.
Yes.
And so, metal roofing is permitted. The rest of it, which is of the brick material, both red and gray, are permitted colors and materials in the redevelopment plan. So it does meet, in my view, the requirements for the redevelopment plan's overall design objectives. The other aspect that I like about the plan is the fact that at the fourth level, where the break occurs with the roof, matches up well with the height of other structures in the neighborhood. So you have a street wall established with the brick and gray, and the roof with its color will in fact blend in with the sky in a lot of ways. So the mass of the building is going to read more from the street with just the first 4 floors, which would be more consistent with what exists there today and be less obvious of being a larger building. As you can see in that rendering, it is substantially larger than the other buildings. But the architect, in my view, has managed to minimize the scale of the building through putting the front wall in and out at various distances to break up what could have been a long, undifferentiated facade, and has managed to come up with a design that minimizes its height in relationship to the other buildings on the street. And it mimics Second Empire design, but in a modern context. I would also say that Mr. Garber's done also is more fine-grained, which addresses 5.2 in my review, and also addresses 5.5, the blank wall concern. So that's been addressed with this revision to the plan. With regard to the color palette, that's also been changed, as Mr. Garber testified to, with the brick color. And so that has been addressed. The primary building materials, as I indicated, actually do conform at this time. In terms of the main entrances in 510, there is still a technical design exception with the corner, because they decided to address that as clipping the corner. That's where the main entrance will be. The intent is met, but technically it doesn't meet the redevelopment plan. So I consider that a technical design exception in this particular instance. So in looking at the entrances, where we make a comment related to the residential entrances. What they've decided to do is to emphasize the retail portion of this and make the residential portion secondary. And I think that's an appropriate design response here, because the important part will be the corner, and that corner is now emphasized with the retail development and putting the canopy out, or actually the building itself over top, to create some shelter, and downlight in front of the retail space. So I think de-emphasizing the residential entrances over the retail areas is actually the right design move here. And so I find that to meet the intent of the redevelopment plan. They've submitted the elevations as requested in 5.11. In terms of the roof deck orientation, that design exception remains. The roof decks face north, and you can see, for example, on the 20th Street, where it's the only direction. There's not an ability to face it otherwise. So that design exception remains. I don't have an objection to it, however. I'm wondering, Mr. Garber, I don't think you testified on what type of glass was proposed for the building.
You mean in terms of a spec, it'll be a double glazed?
I'm thinking, well, we're thinking like clear, smoke, reflective.
Oh,
in that sense.
I am not I'm a pretty straight up person when it comes to glass, just clear glass, just vision glass, just
Okay.
simple.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I would recommend, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what you had in mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Just needed that on the record, thank you. And I think you agreed on the landscaping and some other plan items on the streetscape,
Yes.
and would submit more information on lighting.
Yes.
And so I think everything else has been addressed in your testimony. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Russo, any questions?
No, I was going to ask about the streetscape and the lighting, but that's been addressed, so.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, at this time, are there any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Garber regarding his testimony? Please keep in mind, there will be, I believe, 2 more witnesses per Mr. Maselli, and at the conclusion of each of those witnesses, members of the public have an opportunity to question each witness, and then prior to the closing of this entire application, an opportunity for comment. So if anyone has a question specific to Mr. Garber's testimony, now would be the time to come forward. Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Garber.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Maselli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For our next witness, I'd like to call our project engineer, Guy Lagomarsino.
Okay.
Okay. Hello. Hi. I do. My Guy Lagomarsino, Lagomarsino.
Yeah, I was about to say, present your qualifications to
Yes,
the
I'm a
board.
licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is current. I have presented myself before this board, before COVID, and I think that's my qualification. Been in for 30-something years in practice.
Okay. Well, although we tried to remember what before COVID was like, we welcome you back,
Thank you.
and we accept you as an expert witness.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, okay, so getting forward here, addressing that, I did read the comments from CME, and I went through some of the items there, and with some modifications that are being made, that some things were made by Richard Garber in tonight's presentation, which I did not, but I'm going to just hit upon it. And one of the first things that I've noticed in the comments was the redevelopment plan not allowing the spacing of the trees, which I have the spacing more like 15 feet or so, and they're asking for 30 feet. We're trying to bring more trees in part of my design, as well as maples. We use mostly 9 maples, and if we have the spacing that we're there, we're going to have to reduce them down to about 5, which we will be in compliance with the redevelopment plan as far as that is concerned. And so we'll be eliminating the tree right in front of the driveway entrance. That tree will allow us to make a wider garage door. And obviously, with the wider garage door, we're able to have the taper. We're trying to keep parking as much as best as possible in the street, but again, eliminating, making it wider, and then have the taper, you're like 20-something feet, 21 feet from the start of the curb cut to the other side, at which would be less parking spaces along that street. So in any case, we would eliminate this tree here, and most likely one tree here. So we'll only have 5 trees based upon the compliance with the redevelopment plans. And we'll look for the species that's best directed towards the redevelopment plans as well. I've not truly reviewed all of it since I just saw the comments recently. As far as the 12-inch setback, and as well as in the rear, we're gonna have grass there, landscaping, just basic landscaping for the grass. As far as the lighting is concerned, I knew that was an issue as well. I guess we can go back to, this is the lighting plan that I have, selected the scones. Some wall scones that were outside that will be directed towards the sidewalk only. Nothing will be directed towards the street, and the spacings, hold on, let me just going forward. The spacings of these are limited. The spacing, I guess we're trying to pinpoint them here, and there's more spacing, and there's spacings around between the retail space. The retail space will have its own lighting as well, of which the illuminations be coming out of that. We still need to address as far as the signage is concerned, because I know that still has to be, some signs have to be approved based upon the retail space. So we're still going to keep and maintain the scones as we have on the sidewalk, and obviously, we're not looking to illuminate the street as well as that. So as far as the grade change is concerned on the site, the grade change is very limited from corner to corner, make 2.5 feet, so there's not really much impact in trying to access the property, as well as the slopes for ADA compliance that we may need getting into the facility, getting into the retail space and or the residential space. As far as the storm detention, we wanted to address, get on to the storm detention, which I wanted to address the building out. Right now, the lot is vacant, and with whatever, I'm sure there's buildings there before throughout history, so, but we just, as from a design perspective, we're looking at it as a vacant lot and it's grass. So that being said, he's now going to propose 16,853 square foot building on this site, which is 96% impervious, with the 4% we were talking about at this corner over here. So that would be a very large change in the footprint there. Now the water comes on site, whatever's that into the ground, goes to the curbs, and then goes to the catch basins in the street. Runoff obviously may or may not be bad, but we are now going to change that and bring in compliance to an NJ DEP standards, as well as getting the storm detention. Now, the storm detention here would be a collection of the gutters from the roof drains, and those pipes would be solid pipes, and as I know, the garage is a non-heated garage, that the footings for the building, and even because it's a non-heated space, need to be as deep as 3 feet 6 inches, as well as I understanding that there must have been at one point here a structure, so even having the footings at 3 feet deep on this interior is very highly improbable without building something up. So we're not going to have any impact upon the surrounding footings as far as the zone of influence for any footing being higher or even equal with this. We are anticipating that the pipes will be on top of the footings and not below or outside of the zone of any influence or any impact that would be anticipated. They still need to do some borings on the site to where we can determine any type of groundwater that may be higher here or lower than outside of this zone. But with solid pipes, we're pretty much safe. Now, the solid pipe concept here is rather good because we're keeping the water contained, and again, we're allowing the water to flow out to the street at a very slow rate of seepage to the street, not seepage to the, we're not expecting to have any percolation in the ground. It's going to be stored and then seep to the street at a very slow rate to where after the rain is already stopped or whatever, over time. We're expected to go out over a 72-hour period to the street through some vortex or some, if it's really heavy rains, it'll go over a weir within that chamber, which it would be over here. Okay, as far as I'm getting back to reading CME's comments, most of my experience in the state of New Jersey is that the sanitary and the storm do combine in the street. They seem to be objectable to here. I will have two separate lines to the street in my updated design, which would be one for the storm and as well one for the sanitary, directly connected to the sanitary in the street. As far as the roof gutters are concerned, all the roof gutters, and there was a concern that if there's more than a 100-year event of rain, that the roof gutters will have some form. I have a detail that somewhere here that, let me see, hold on. Size of note, let me go back. Seem to miss this. We're losing it. Anyway, make this a little bit more intense here, that we can get the gutters will, if the storm detention does reach its capacity, in which it cannot overflow to the weir, then the gutters themselves will have some, will have like a relief in it, that the water would just float within the garage, and the garage will be sloped to accommodate any of those overflowing in the case of that. So again, that will be an overflow to the sidewalk and to the street, but that would be definitely within the state standards as the amount of rain that may be anticipated for this site. I think that pretty much addresses what I was looking into.
Just to circle back on a couple of things, there were some comments in the reports, a request for the addition of trash receptacles, I believe, along the streetscape. We'd be willing to do that as a condition of approval, correct?
Yes, it'll be a condition of approval.
Same thing for seating, for public seating along the streetscape, correct? We'd be willing to put some benches and places for people to sit
Well,
along
now
the
that
frontage.
we're going to have less trees, we will have more space. for
There you
bench.
go. And I know you mentioned that you would look at the diversity of the trees. Would you agree to, as a condition of approval?
Yeah,
work with the professionals to get
As long as the
that
trees,
mix
I
right?
think, that would not be odd shape, that would grow at the same pace. I mean, I would like to anticipate that.
Would we agree to do some sort of decorative sidewalks along the frontage, the street frontage? That was I think, one of the design exceptions that we had.
Yeah, I would like to work with the architect as far as the coloring of those. I don't necessarily see any objective to that, and maybe even the retail space, what they can anticipate in the retail space.
And I know we agreed to additional landscaping plantings, but to really beef that up a little bit at the ground level, just a little bit more green,
No,
non-tree green.
Yeah, when it's tried, like I said, within, I mean, within the side area we're talking about in the
Yeah.
rear, we'll look to, like I said, we'll anticipate to put grass, putting some, anything else beyond grass would be rather difficult to maintain.
The lighting. We will make sure, is it your testimony that we'll make sure that all the street lighting, the pedestrian lighting, all those levels comply with the redevelopment requirements, and that we'll shield them if necessary so that we reach the required light levels at the property lines and such?
Yes, as well as that, yes.
I think that would be it for us.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions regarding this testimony? Okay. Ms. Mack? Mr. Slaw?
I don't have any questions for this witness.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Russo?
I had some minor comments that you didn't touch on, just, I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're going to address those
Yeah.
comments in my letter, from
Yeah.
my letter?
Yes.
And comments on the stormwater report, you'll address that?
Yes, we'll address that as well, adding in the roof green greenery that can be in, can actually reduce what we have, and we were trying to maintain as much as we can since the site, we're trying to accommodate the site was pretty much vacant and impervious to where now is now, would be impervious.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a question regarding this testimony? Okay, I don't see any questions, so thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Maselli, your third.
Our third witness, before we go to our third witness, I know that we've gone through Mr. Slough's report. On page 16, he does list all the relief required. Before we get our planner up and he starts to discuss the relief that we need, I'd like to just, if we can, recap which ones are still left and which ones have been eliminated. I know in paragraph 18 on page 16, the variances are gone, right? So there's 3 bullet points there. We've amended the plan, or we've worked out that plan. Design exceptions, there's a list here, and I just want, like I said, just for Mr. Haight's benefit, I want him to only testify to what we need. So we have building design, we can go through these, but I would like to know from Mr. Slough which ones are left in his view.
So the ones that still remain,
Yep.
in my view, are roof deck orientation,
Okay.
and the main entrance, where you need main entrances
On both,
sides.
okay,
And we just have it on the corner.
gotcha, okay.
And everything else, I think, has been addressed. Yes.
Good.
Yes, those 2.
Good, okay, that's it. Yeah, just a couple. All right, so now we'd like to call our third witness to clean up.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, we're just going to get you sworn in.
I do. Yes, Charles Height, last name spelled H-E-Y-D-T.
Okay.
Mr.
And-
Height, can you present your qualifications to the board, please?
Yes, good evening, board members. I did appear before this board last year on application along Chosen Few Way, testified to the variances with that application. I also appeared before the zoning board in Bayonne and throughout Hudson County at planning and zoning boards.
We
I am-
accept you. I don't mean to cut you off, but we accept you as an expert witness. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so you heard what do we have, 2 left? The 2 design exceptions that are remaining. So just very quickly, can you take us through the relief?
Yes, 2 left, and the board is aware this is under a redevelopment plan that really has kind of looked at the property, modeled what the requirements are, and ultimately, the proposed plans before you by way of site plan do comply with the intent of the redevelopment plan. So I'm going to focus on the specific relief we need, and out of all the bulk requirements and the design requirements, we do want to reference 2. A little bit of this was brought up in the discussion between our project architect and the board planner. So the residential entrances are not consistent with the redevelopment plan. That was a comment. The design relief needed is with respect to entrances fronting on the street. So just a little bit of justification in terms of what the threshold here. Design waivers can be granted as exceptions by this board as may be reasonable and within the general purpose and intent of the provision. And they also effectively, where the literal enforcement of one of the provisions is impractical. So another way to say that second part is there a practical alternative? So with this design request, I think the tapering of the entrance at the corner technically isn't on the street frontage, it's partially on public, on the property, does still meet that intent. You heard the board planner say the presence of the retail entrance at the corner is a very common planning best practice, and in my opinion is a nice alternative being presented. With respect to the second design waiver being requested, with respect to the roof deck and the orientation, This plan, this proposed application does have multiple roof decks with some oriented to the south for the interior portion, but for the roof decks on the north side of the property, they are only oriented to the north because of their location and what that location in the building. So for those specific roof decks that front 20th Street, that's the design relief we need. They're not the only roof decks, and in my opinion, they just add to the variety of the units being offered with this building. So again, a nice practical alternative and still fits within the intent of the redevelopment plan with the variety of units being proposed. That's my testimony. This is a nice project, and it has been a good effort with the design team and also the city professionals to get to this point.
Okay.
Thank you. That will
Thank
conclude
you.
our planning testimony.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Ms. Mack, any questions for our planner? Any questions down the end?
I would just comment that I agree with Mr. Height's assessment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Slaw. Mr. Russo? Okay, thank you. Any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Height? Okay, no questions from the public. At this time, are there any members of the audience that wish to make a statement, whether it be pro or con, regarding this application? Okay, seeing no comments, Mr. Maselli, if you have any closing statements you'd like to share?
Thank you. Just quickly, on mechanical ventilation, we know it's part of it's required in the plan, we'll do it. Obviously, we'd need relief if we didn't, so we'll agree to that. So what you have before you is a plan that has been honed over the past month or so in cooperation with the board professionals. We've taken what was a quite substantial amount of relief and whittled it down to two, I think, very minor deviations, and I think you heard from our planner that those are more than justified. You heard from your planner that he agrees with that. This is a good project. It's going to revitalize a property that's been vacant for years. It's been underutilized. There's a couple of buildings. You're starting to see things happen in this neighborhood, and I think this project will just further that renaissance that's happening down there. So I would ask that the board vote aye on this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maselli. I would say I am in agreement. I think this is a very nice project. It fits, in my mind, it fits very nicely on that corner. I do like the orientation of the store on the corner. It just kind of ties both the side street and Avenue C together nicely and makes it cohesive. So I commend everyone for working together to design a very nice building that works well in that area. And it is an area that is sat now vacant for some time, so it's time for something to, beautify that area. Commissioners, anyone else wish to make a comment? Sure. Oh. We did them already.
When the planner left, that was when you wanted to ask your question. Do you want to ask the planner a question?
Okay.
Mr. Height, could you approach the microphone? One of the commissioners has a question to ask. Thank you.
My apologies for walking away. That was not intended for.
No, that's okay.
Well, we were deliberating, so you were entitled to walk away. Don't worry about that one. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Hi, I just had a quick question. I was looking at the impact statement, and it said something about NJDP remediation, so I just wanted to ask if you had an idea of when the LSRP tank remediation, like when is that projected to close out?
Yep.
And then, when you guys are projected to build?
So one, thank you for reading the report. Two, it is an oversight. Part of the process to close out that underground storage tank removal and remediation is the capping of the foundation of the building. So that's essentially, it goes hand in hand with the site plan approval. The earthwork and capping go along with closing out the project. So that will be completed along with the construction of the foundation.
Okay, and then one more. I don't know if this is necessarily for you, but do we know if this specific application triggers the affordable housing fee obligation under the city's ordinance, or is that different?
So timing, I think the attorney, the affordable housing obligation? Yeah, I just don't want to misspeak on the details of it, but.
Yeah, so affordable housing on this site will be paid through the commercial space, which will be 2.5% of the equalized assessed value of the commercial space. For the rest, it would be waived because Bayonne doesn't have any more affirmative obligation to construct.
Okay, thank you.
I could just add to that, what he's referring to is they'll pay the non-residential fee for the site to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay.
That's what it's called. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Height.
Thank you.
Okay. I think there was a comment.
Just a comment here. I think that the project has been well thought out. I definitely think it's going to revitalize that area that definitely has been going through some transition. I think it's a good project. Mr. Maselli, you know what my question is. We're on the record tonight. I am just curious with all this. Appropriate? Yes, I would like to know, very much so, the park.
Yes.
If you can just, on the record, just let me know exactly what's the intent is for that and.
Yes.
Because I'm getting a lot of questions about that. There's been a lot of revitalization in terms of parks around town, and that one has been on my radar for a little bit now.
A little
So
bit, yes.
If you can help me out a little bit, that would be really
Who can refuse a request from you? When this project first started, Councilman Booker had discussed with us maybe doing, there's a park across the street, not exactly on this block, it's between 19th and 18th on the opposite side, that is old. And he asked us if part of this project, we could redo that park, and we agreed. So I believe our intent is to build it ourselves in conjunction with your city professionals designing it, but it will be a completely refurbished park that will be attached to it. It's not part of the site plan application here tonight, that's why we didn't put testimony on, but it will be part of the overall redevelopment plan and project.
And I appreciate that, because I think that park itself, with the surrounding neighborhood, it will definitely be part of that revitalization, and the young kids in that area can use that park.
I agree.
And I just wanted to go on a record with that, so we can make that happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for discussing that. Any other comments? Commissioner Veloz?
Well, I agree with you, Madam Chair, and it's a beautiful project. And it's about time that redevelopment in that particular section, Avenue C. And good luck, and I will go for.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that said, I think we are ready for a motion and a vote, and I will make that motion.
I'll second.
And on the vote, please?
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte?
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Booker?
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz?
Aye.
Commissioner Locke?
Aye.
Thank you, and good luck with the project. We'll take a brief break, and we'll come back in about 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are going to call the meeting back to order. Can I please have a roll call?
Yes, you may, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Chairperson Fiamonte?
Here?
Vice Chair Velardo?
Here.
Commissioner Booker?
Here.
Commissioner Veloz?
Here.
Commissioner Locke?
Here.
Okay, next on the agenda?
Item number 11, P-20-022, Mohammed Syed Aslam. Site is 9-11 Ars Court in Block 259, Lot 7. The applicant is seeking minor subdivision approval to subdivide the existing property into 2 new lots and then construct 2 new two-family houses. Variances are required for lot area, lot width, height in stories, and lot frontage. Mr. Ceccanini.
Good evening, Mr. Ceccanini.
Good evening. Peter Cecchini on behalf of the applicant. First, I just asked to move the exhibits into evidence.
Okay.
I guess it's A1 through 23.
Okay, we'll accept those. Thank you.
So like many applications which have come before this board, the applicant seeks to subdivide a 50 by 100 lot into 2 lots and put a new 2-family house on each lot with parking. Due to Bayonne's ordinances, the applicant requires a few variances to get this done. We're going to need a variance for stories, but not height. The height will be conforming. It's just the definition of stories in Bayonne requires technically a variance to build a 2-family house like this. Lot width is also technically a variance. It would be 2 25 by 100 lots, but it is a standard size pretty much in Bayonne and along this block. And then there's also side yard setback, which is partially mitigated by the applicant's agreement to put an easement in this area for mutual access and egress. There are a few other things that we discussed with the city's experts, but we'll bring that out in the testimony with the architect. With that, I'll call our witness, which is the architect and planner, Alan Feld.
Okay. And just one witness, just to confirm?
It'll just, unless there's, the public has questions for my client's here, but yes, just one witness.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Feld.
I do. My name is Alan Feld. I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. My license is current, and I've been before this board many times in the past, way in the past, but in the past.
We recognize Mr. Feld
Yeah,
as an
thank
expert
you.
witness. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Feld, if you want to go and describe the project, including the change that we agreed to make after review of the planning and engineering reports.
Correct. As was mentioned, this is a subdivision of an existing 50 by 100 lot into two 25 by 100 lots. On each property, there's going to be a new two-family house. As part of the design, the original design shows the first floor would be 60 feet deep, but the second and third floor would be 64 feet deep with an overhang, a 4-foot overhang in the rear of the property. And in order to conform to the required 20-foot setback in the rear, we agreed to eliminate that 4-foot overhang on this design. So there would be no setback at the rear of the property. The front of the property conforms to the 20-foot required front yard setback.
Okay, could you describe the two-family houses and what's being proposed?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have a slide presentation. On the ground floor, first floor, there's a one-car garage. No, this is the floor plan. This is drawing A4. Look at that. How about that?
Okay, that helpful?
Oh, okay.
I don't know if anyone has a pointer for you. Maybe that would be helpful. Like if any, Alicia, we don't have one, do we? Thank you.
The up and down arrows will forward the pages.
And the pointer?
The little starburst button.
Starburst, got it. I'll know next time.
Let me see it for a moment.
Perfect.
Okay. So there's a one-car garage in the front. Behind. Oh, sorry.
You can
Sorry.
just raise that microphone
Yeah,
back
one-
up towards your face.
Yeah, one-car garage in the front. Behind that's an unoccupied space. Behind that is a storage room and a half bath. Coming up to the first floor, we have a living room, kitchen, open kitchen, two children's bedrooms, the master bedroom in the back, and with ensuite bathroom and closet, and the children's bathroom there. These are exterior stairs that come first up to the second floor, and then there's another door that goes up to the second floor. With a similar layout, we have an open kitchen, living room, two children's bedrooms, master bedroom in the rear, ensuite bathroom, and a bathroom for the children. We can go to the next page. I can go to the next page, right? Okay. There you go. Thank you. So the front elevation is the garage door, the entrance to the units, the stairs in the front. So small Juliet balconies for the first and second floor. On here, on the right side elevation, you can see the overhang, which we're going to eliminate. And similar on the left side elevation, we're going to square off the rear of the house, so there's no overhang. And this is the rear elevation, which would remain the same, but would just be into the house.
All right, so what other, what variances are going to be required for this application?
If we can go to the site plan. First page. Yeah, so on this site plan, we provided lot coverage, I think 69%. But using permeable pavers for the carports. However, it's being told that that has to be included into the permeable coverage. So we would be asking for a variance for lot coverage, even though we will provide additional permeable pavers around the perimeter of the houses. Before they were just concrete. Now they'll be all permeable pavers to at least meet as much as possible the requirement for lot coverage. The other issue is that we have the zone requires 3-foot side yard coverage, side yard setbacks on both sides of the properties. And in the middle, we're providing a total of 3 feet between the two units, but only 1'7" on each half of the lots. So to mitigate that, we're requesting an easement so that nothing could be built between the two units, and that total would be more than 3 feet between the two houses. So that would be another variance, but with the easement.
Excuse me one second, Mr. Feld. I'm sorry, we can hear you up here. If you want to have a conversation, just step outside.
It's important that we only have one person talking at a time for our stenographer and for the record. Thank you.
And the last easement which was mentioned is that we need a variance for stories, because in the Bayonne ordinance, we're only allowed 2.5 stories, and technically, this is a 3-story house. But it's not uncommon to seek a variance for stories of this type of structure.
And the height is under the 35 feet, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Now, there were some recommendations by the city. There was a recommendation, Mr. Slough had a recommendation to plant a maple tree, a certain type of maple tree as a street tree. We agreed to that, is that correct?
Yeah, we show 2 street trees, but yes, we'll.
And then Mr. Slough's planning report, I believe, also mentioned there were some questions about the curb cut placement that he wanted to clarify with CME, the engineering. But before this meeting, we spoke to both Mr. Slough and Mr. Russo, and it's your understanding that the curb cut is acceptable from an engineering standpoint for the city?
Yeah, Mr. Russo said that it was conforming.
Okay. And then CME's report recommended that the half bathroom in the basement be reduced in size and the closet space eliminated. The applicant agrees to these recommendations as a condition of approval, correct?
Yes, I agree.
And also the other recommendations in the CME's report, correct? We agree to those?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions for Mr. Bell.
Okay, thank you. I have a question regarding the setback. How much space currently exists between 11 and the property, looks like a 1 or a 2-family house next to it? How much space? It looks like there was a driveway there at some point. I'm just curious what the change will be for the neighboring property.
So if we're looking at the front, the property to the right?
Yeah, so if we're looking at it at the front, the home that was there, the large ranch-looking home, there was a home next to that. I can't tell what the number is. I'm guessing 13. So between 11 and 13, how much room will there be between those two properties once this, if this were to be approved?
We're going to provide a 3-foot setback on our house.
Okay,
But previously, there was a driveway there, it seems like.
okay. And do we know if 13 is built to the lot line or if they have a 3-foot setback?
It looks about 2 feet, Madam Chair.
Okay. So there should be about 5 feet between when all is said and done, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure I understood, just because I'm trying to orient it with, you know, what was there versus what is being proposed to go there. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? No? Commissioners? Okay, I see some questions down the end. We'll move to.
Yeah, I do have a question concerning the configuration of the garage door in relation to the 2 parking spaces out front. If any car is within either of those spaces, that garage can't be accessed because the garage is centered on the spaces. Was there a design that you considered where the garage door would line up with one of the parking spaces so that you would have tandem spaces, one in a garage and one out of the garage?
Maybe by removing those, the
Yeah,
planter over?
I could shift over the garage door to one side to make it more, it would be off-center on design of the facade, but you're right, I could shift the door over so it's more in line with one of the parking spaces. Yeah,
I'm assuming with 2 units in each building, there would be 1 unit that gets 2 spaces and 1 unit that gets 1 space. That would be typically how you would divvy those up, I'm thinking.
well, I don't know how that would go.
I think you're right, Mr. Slough.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And so you would want to have it so the rights to park in one in the garage and one out of the garage is with the same unit, clearly.
Yes.
What you don't want to have, I think, is where someone has to wait for the other tenant or the other owner to be home to move a car while you're trying to get in and out of your garage. So I think it behooves that garage to be moved over.
Yeah.
So that it lines up with one of the spaces.
We can
on
do
both
that.
units. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Schlow. Mr. Russo?
Just one question on the setback, Mr. Feld. We see a lot of applications like this with the two-lot minor subdivisions. Is there a reason why you can't meet the side yard setback in between the two dwellings?
Well, I assume it could be met, but it would reduce, obviously, the side of some of the rooms and make it not as desirable, I would say.
Would that make it harder for the garage to be moved over to get with that spot?
That would make it more difficult.
Would it help with your lot coverage calculation also?
Well, it would add to the lot coverage. I mean, it would reduce the lot coverage.
Just reduce it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Mack? Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we'll open it up if there are any members of the public that have questions for Mr. Feld regarding his testimony. Do we have any members of the public? Okay, I just want to make sure I know one of our members. Are there any, just checking again, are there any questions for Mr. Feld's testimony? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Feld. Any members of the audience that wish to make a statement, whether that be pro or con, regarding Mr. Feld's testimony? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Feld. And Mr. Ceccanini, if you have closing statements?
Yes, just very quickly, this will bring much-needed housing to the neighborhood. It doesn't even take any parking off the street because you can't park on that side of the street anyway, so it's adding parking. The applicants agreed to, to reiterate, to remove that 4-foot bump out and to use permeable pavers around the house and to do the easement and to move that garage over, which is a good idea. The applicant's doing what he can to try to make this as good of an application as possible, so we hope you'll approve it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ceccanini. Commissioners, any comments? Yes, Commissioner Locke.
I was going to say, I like the application. I think it makes sense for that area, especially being that the height is effectively the same, and so now you're introducing new supply. You're not taking any parking away, which is very beneficial. You're actually adding parking, and so I think it makes sense overall. It gives a new supply that we do a lot of the bigger stuff, so sometimes the smaller stuff is nice to have as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sure.
Yes, I just said I agree with the project, and I'm sure I'm going to rely on the professionals that we have with the city and their recommendations or any adjustments that need to be made to make this project work. Definitely the housing needed in that area and the parking added is really a good addition. So I'm going to rely on the professionals, and I'm sure it'll be a good project.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that said, I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And on the vote, please?
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
the project. Thank you.
Very much. Have a great night, guys.
You too, thank you. Okay. I believe we have one additional item, one additional hearing on the agenda that we most likely will be able to just begin this evening.
Yes, let's invite Mr. Maselli up to the microphone to let him know. Mr. Maselli, as I advised you off the record, the commissioners will start this application, but we're taking no new witnesses after 9:30.
Okay,
Yes, we understand. We'd like to proceed tonight.
okay, all right,
Thank you.
then we'll get started.
Item number 12, P-25-002, 211-217 Broadway LLC. Site is 211-217 Broadway, Block 305, Lot 20. The applicant is seeking amended preliminary and final site plan, preliminary and final major site plan approval to construct a 6-story mixed-use building with 39 residential units. Previous application was P-19-033.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Maselli.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair. Like to introduce this application. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Maselli. I'm the attorney for the applicant, 211-217 Broadway LLC, in reference to an application for Block 305, Lot 20, which has a street address of 211-217 Broadway. This property is located in the 8th Street Rehabilitation Plan, which was specifically amended to accommodate the redevelopment plan for this site. A few years ago, there was an approval to construct an 8-story building that had 49 residential units and 49 parking spaces. We are here to reduce the scope of that application with an amended application for preliminary and final major site plan for 39 residential units, 39 parking spaces, and a few hundred square feet of retail and commercial space. We have one witness tonight, Mr. Al Sambate. I think you all might know him. And without further ado, I'd like to bring him up, and I would like to enter our exhibits, which are A1 through I'm not sure what number it goes up to. A28. I'd like to enter those into evidence with your permission. Thank you.
Okay, we'll accept those. And good evening, Mr. Sambade.
Good evening. I do. Al Sambade, S-A-M-B-A-D-E.
Okay, and we accept Mr. Sambade as an expert witness. He's appeared many times.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sambate, can you orient the board to the location?
Sure, this property is the first property south of the 8th Street overpass on the west side of Broadway. There used to be a dentist office there for many years. It was demolished several years ago. So this application was a subject of an amendment to the 8th Street Rehabilitation Plan, 8th Street Station Plan, that permitted 8 stories in height of a residential building. And in fact, in January of 1920, just in time for COVID, this board approved that application. And for obvious reasons, things didn't proceed very quickly. So this application reduces the height of the building by 2 stories. So it's a 6-story building, 29 feet lower, and it has 10 less units than the original building. So this is a 39-unit building, originally 49. Currently, we're proposing 10 studio apartments, 9 one-bedrooms, and 20 two-bedrooms. With regards to the plans, I think I'm only going to be referring to two sheets, so, page 2 and page 3. And the rendering of the building is here. I apologize to Alicia for not getting the electronic file on time, but we can pass this around as well if
Yes, let's mark that as exhibit A29. So-
So if you could scroll in the other direction, Alicia, please. Yeah, toward the top. So page 2 and page 3. Right, that page and the next page. So this is the basement and first floor plan, and Broadway is at the bottom. And as you can see, the first floor is dominated, as it was in the original plan, by a garage that contains 39 parking spaces some at grade, the remainder in a variety of mechanical parking spaces, as it did in the prior approval. The one change to this plan on the ground floor is that there's a very small retail space, maybe a local coffee shop or a small office or something of that sort, which was not part of the original plan. You can see the streetscape improvements along Broadway, new trees, concrete and brick paver sidewalks that kind of match that Broadway district that the city's implemented over years. So that's the first floor plan. If you could move to the next page. These are effectively typical upper floor plans. The footprint of the building hasn't changed. The layout of the units hasn't changed significantly. Minor changes to accommodate current handicap accessibility codes and so on, but otherwise, it's the same. The only difference is on the left-hand side is the second floor, and if you note on the upper right, that area in yellow, that's a gym for the building. On all the floors above, that's an apartment. And then going up to the roof, there's a roof terrace that combined with this gym meet the open space requirement for the project. The garage also will contain EV parking spaces. It wasn't shown on the plan, but we will comply with the EV requirements, which totals up to 6 parking spaces when rounding up at grade, and the parking the charge points will be either at grade or within the mechanical equipment, because there's a system to deal with that. So this EV reduction permits a reduction in parking spaces of 4 to 35 spaces, but nonetheless, we're providing for 39, 1 per unit, because we know we get a credit on EV, but the intent is to get one parking space per unit, so that's what we're sticking with. We're providing bicycle parking as required. Trash and recycling, the same. There are refuse rooms in each floor, shoots down to a room on the first floor for trash and recycling, taking out the curb for private carter at the time of pickup. And usually the private carters, it would be a smaller truck, and in many instances, they would pull up to the building. And this is obviously a contract arrangement that owners have with the private carters. So typically in situations like this, what we would ask for is that the carter come to the site, go into the building, pull the trash out, and then load it, not have it out on the street, certainly not overnight, but not have it out on the street at 10 o'clock and they pick it up at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So that's something that the private carters will do under contract. So the building exterior, I won't even go to the elevations because it's well reflected in the rendering. There were comments in Mr. Slaughter's report regarding this, so I want to spend a little bit of time talking regarding the building exterior. So that the exterior has changed from the original approval, which had basically a 2-step building. The upper 2 floors were set back a little bit, and it complied with the requirements of the Broadway District standards as interpreted and as discussed during commentary at that planning board hearing years ago. So this has changed somewhat because we think that the building, as shown, considers and complements the surrounding aesthetic of the immediate area. In particular, the buildings immediately next to it and across the street and these are buildings we worked on years ago and that this board acted on probably almost 20 years ago. So they were designed at the time to accentuate the historic quality of those buildings. And so there's significant change, the use of historic colors, the color scheme, the detailing cornices, and so on. So we've tried to, knowing that and knowing the background of those buildings, we've tried to complement it without copying it, and at the same time bring in some more modern materials as well. So the primary materials for this building at the base is a rustic red brick around the entire base. The vertical elements consist of a cream and brown brick, some metal panels in a tan shade, and the upper wall finishes, especially on the sides, consist of a prefabricated synthetic stucco panel that mimics the look of brownstone. So brownstone is one of the recommended materials in the Broadway standards. You can't build with brownstone. First off, I looked into it. Where can I buy brownstone? There's one quarry on the East Coast that quarries brownstone, and it's used primarily for historic rehabs in Brooklyn, Upper West Side, Manhattan, Boston, and so on. It's never used for new construction. Neither is terracotta, which is a great material, and it's mentioned in the plan, in the standard. And these type of materials aren't used because brownstone is a soft stone. It degrades over time, and it just doesn't stand well to urban weather situations. So it's not long-lasting, and even if money was no object, it's just not the right thing. So we're trying to mimic that look and the intent in the plan with a more modern material that gives us the same look. So it wouldn't be a flat finish. It would be in blocks that are made in the factory, and they go up as panels on the building. So it does give us that look of brownstone. So again, the intention is to meet, the intention of the design is to meet the intent of the character that the redevelopment plan and the Broadway standards contemplate. Site work hasn't really changed from the original one, the same flat work, sidewalk improvements, lighting, and things of that sort. Stormwater management, we continue to have a stormwater management system that provides reductions of between 64% and 70% for each of the three design storms, and mitigate any lot coverage impact. Although the former building site, it's not, it's mostly asphalt, to be honest with you. So there's really, this would result in a significant reduction. We're not just trying to mimic what was there before and reduce a little bit from that. We're reducing significantly from a paved area, an impervious surface existing, to an impervious surface proposed, but with significant reduction. We received two reports from the board's experts, from Mr. Russo. So as Mr. Russo noted in his report, in the preparation of these plans, we've addressed most of the comments and conditions that were in his report back in 2019. And I think we've accomplished that and addressed most of them. He's identified a few remaining items, and we'll take care of that. So we have no issue whatsoever with his comments. Mr. Slough, same thing, prepared a good comprehensive report as usual, and goes in detail for the board's benefit, and he identifies a number of items, comments, potential design waivers, and so on. So I'd like to, and a lot of them relate to the building design, but the ones that don't are the minimum parking stall size. So there's one space next to the two ADA spaces that are, would be on the ground floor, that is 8 feet wide instead of what's required is 8.5 feet wide. The redevelopment plan also permits a third of the parking spaces to be compact spaces. So for the sake of this comment, we'll call it a compact space, and we're in full compliance. The drive aisle width, 22 is what's required, and from face of parking space or parking equipment to face of parking equipment is 25 feet. So over this 90-foot long garage, there are 3 instances where we have structural columns that reduce that to 21 feet. So my opinion is that there's no impediment to the safe passage of vehicles and no impediment to the access of parking spaces, so this is a justifiable waiver. Curb cut width, the curb cut is 20 feet. When the draftsman put a dimension string on it, it came out to 20 foot 1 inches, but it is 20 feet, and we'll correct that. The rest of the items really have to do with some of the Broadway district design standards. So these standards have been in effect for quite some time, and I know Sumac remembers. And they, at the time when the special improvement district was first brought in on Broadway, I remember when John Fusa was the city planner at the time, and we had a lot of back and forth discussions among stakeholders. There was a discussion to implement these standards to bring some uniformity to what was happening on Broadway. The key takeaway here is that these standards were designed to address rehabilitation projects on Broadway and facade improvement projects on Broadway. At the time that this was put in place, redevelopment, as that you're dealing with every day, you're dealing with 2 or 3 projects today, area needs studies, redevelopment plans, that was not a word that was even known in Bayonne. So the original idea behind these standards is central business district. These are the items, this is the look we'd like to see, and that's from where it comes. This standard, except for the last couple of pages, that's where it addresses new construction. So these standards also primarily apply to the Broadway facade, because going up and down Broadway, all these buildings are attached. So you're not worried about side facades and so on. An important takeaway on this building, and you see it on the rendering, and you can see it on the elevations. This building is visible from 4 vantage points: Broadway, south of Broadway, north on Broadway, and the highway and light rail. So the materials that you see in the front elevations, they exist everywhere in the building. We don't have a blank wall in the back because it's the back of the building, because that's visible from the highway. So the intention is to use good quality materials throughout and make it a comprehensive improvement, not only standing across the street on Broadway. So as to, particular comments, which I don't think Brian has any, I haven't had a chance to speak with him, but I don't believe he has any particular objection to. I think he's doing his job in identifying what they are for the board's benefit. So things like the framing of windows, the use of fixed windows, it's simple. We have windows. Windows that are in this building are window units, and in some instances, you combine 2 windows to make a unit that fits in an opening. Not every pane of glass in that opening is operable, but they are operable windows that have fixed elements. A lot of the windows that you see that look more like a conventional double-hung window, they're actually single-hung windows. So the top sash doesn't move, it's fixed. It's only the bottom sash that goes up and down. So I don't think that's, and I don't think Brian, I hope Brian doesn't believe it's an issue. He better not, because we're running out of time. And other items as to percentage of glazing and so on.
I won't need to speak.
No, you don't get a chance. You don't get a chance, and that's by intent. So the things like the percentage of glazing and things like that sort, it hasn't changed from the original approval. In fact, in some cases, as to glazing, it's somewhat more. But if Brian wants calculations, we'll happily provide all of that. So that's the general gist of it. I mean, if Brian has any specific item that he wants me to touch on, I would be more than happy to. But the general idea is that we're seeking to conform in a strong way with the intent of the standards, provide some modern elements to it, provide some architectural interest to the building, and very importantly, do it on 4 sides of the building. And I think that, Madam Chair, concludes my direct.
Okay.
Mr. Sandby, just very quickly, so there were a couple of comments that I want to circle back on. Lighting, there was a note that there were excess illumination beyond the property lines. We would remedy that with an amendment to the,
Yeah, and
to our plan.
just as a blanket statement, all of those site plan-related comments that are in Brian's report, I have no objection to, and we'll address them. So we don't need to go over those item by item unless Brian would like to talk about it, putting pressure on Brian.
Just to put on the record, so there's a space on this property that's used by the neighbor for plantings and various natural uses. We're going to maintain that and agree to do that on the record.
Correct, and the neighbor, and these are the neighbors here, and I had the pleasure of meeting the owner, it's been a few years, but I remember meeting them. So they have an area, there's that little, if you look at the first floor plan, at the upper left-hand corner, there's that little bump out that is actually part of this property, but is behind our neighbor's property, and they have an easement on that. So, and I think, I haven't been there in a while, but the last time, I think it was a garden, and grew vegetables in there. So we have no intent of doing anything there. What we're showing on the plan is to put sod on it, just to do something. But our position, applicant's position, is that the neighbor has used it for years. He'll continue using it. He and she will continue using it. For those purposes. It is not part of our project.
Okay.
There was a question about fencing too, whether we would be putting the fencing on top of the retaining wall. Are we going to do that or no?
We can, and that's something we can, it doesn't matter to us. So that's something that we can work out with the neighbor, for sure.
Signage, are we doing signage as part of this application? Will it comply with the redevelopment?
We show
plan?
signage on the plans. We don't know what the signage will be. We're not seeking a deviation, and the signage at whatever time this project moves forward will be covered in an application to the zoning officer, and it will comply. We won't have to come back to the board for a deviation.
That would conclude our direct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any question for Mr. Sambade?
Yes, Madam Chair. The first question is, do you consider that the fire hydrant that is in the block, that's going to be relocated by Veolia or interfere with the design of the building?
I don't think so. So any sort of, Commissioner, any sort of utilities that need to be relocated are done at the applicant's expense. It's not something that, it's not something that Veolia would do just for the heck of it. So it would only be done for the benefit of the project, nor should they. That would be, if it needs to be relocated, it will be, and anything like that will be coordinated with Veolia, obviously.
And the other question would be about getting out of the parking lot. Due to the fact that Broadway is 2 yellow line.
Yes.
They're going to go southbound, right, when they exit it, or they're going to cross over to go northbound?
The easy movement, obviously, is to go southbound. And I can tell you, because my office is 500 feet away from this on 8th Street, and I walk this all the time, and I grew up in Bergen Point, so I'm familiar with it. I grew up partly in Bergen Point. And that intersection, more as we get towards 8th Street, crossing there under the overpass, under the light rail, is difficult and not the safest thing ever. And I'm sure you know that there are guardrails there to protect the overpass. So if I'm coming down from the light rail on the south side of 8th Street and going over, I can't cross the street because there are guardrails on the sidewalk that prevent me from doing that. Does that stop people? No, they walk across and hop over it all the time. So it is a tricky intersection. Here, we're across from Cottage Street, not as bad, but you're right. The only thing that I've ever seen that prevents that, and we can educate tenants and say, and put up a sign that says right turn only, that's fine. But we can't legislate that. We can't hold them to it. The only thing that's really worked ever is ShopRite. By ordinance, city council passed an ordinance, they put up the barricade, make it physically impossible to do. I don't know that on a 39-unit building it matters that much, but that's a very good question. Hopefully people will just do the smart thing and the right thing, because to sit there and wait to make an uptown turn is kind of silly. Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, Mr. Slaw?
Thank you.
You're
A few
welcome.
things. So generally speaking, what we did was point out, there are a lot of design standards in the 8th Street Rehabilitation Plan that carried on to the redevelopment plan here. You know, notwithstanding that, I think the design works well on the site. I think there's one thing I'd like to hear about in particular, and that has to do with our comment on 5.1.8 on page 5, which has to do with the retail space, and whether there was a way to have the storefront look more continuous across the front, whether there's a way to make that look more prominent in the facade on the ground floor.
Well, yeah, I think that we've tried to do that. So where the entrance is on Broadway, so the entrance to the building and the retail space is on the north side of the building. Obviously, the garage is on the south side. So that is a continuous storefront. It's also, by the way that we've designed that area, there's a cornice that goes above the garage level, and then there's a cornice at the second floor above. So it actually looks like, but it's not, it looks like a two-story storefront wall. And that's kind of the idea, to clearly identify that and make it stand out. You don't see it in the elevation, but on either side of the storefront, that storefront is recessed. But on either side, there are two brick columns that come out to the property line. So that further defines the storefront. So I think it functions in that sense. You're right. It's a flat elevation, two-dimensional, and you kind of have to look at the plans, the elevation, and the rendering at the same time for it to be super clear. But you're right. On a two-dimensional elevation, it doesn't stand out. Well, you can have this one.
Rendering, but, so that's a satisfactory answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Wondering if, take a look at if the board would be so kind as to, if I could look at the kind of the sample materials that Mr.
Sure.
Zambade had talked about, which, like this synthetic brownstone.
I have it. So, Commissioners, if you don't mind, I'll take it over.
We'll pull that sample board and is it at 8:30?
8:30.
Watch behind you. Just watch behind
Watch
you.
behind
There
you.
was a member of the public. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, this looks fine to me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Okay. And Mr. Russo, did you have any questions? No questions. Okay, thank you. All Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we will move to any members of the public that have questions for Mr. Sambade regarding his testimony. Okay. Mr. Sambade, if you wouldn't mind just taking the microphone by Mr. Maselli over there so you can answer any questions. Thank you.
On behalf of the adjacent property owners, they want to know if the windows will be opening. The rendering looks a little different than on the plans as well, and what the setback is. Frank Richard on behalf of Michael Morgano, Pietro Morgano, and Carmela Bellomo, my grandmother and great aunt and uncle, and the adjacent property owners.
Right, so the setback to that side is 5 feet 1 inch from the building face to the property line, to the property line.
Jingle Pedal.
3 feet really?
5 feet.
No, 5 feet total.
Hold on. We have a stenographer here that can only take one person at a time, so let's restrict the communications, okay?
Just for the record, they don't speak English well.
No, I understood, but Al was talking to you at the same time that your uncle was talking to you, and the stenographer can't take it down. Just one at a time, and you can translate.
I want to see
If I can, so it looks like you have 3 feet
3
on
feet really
your
at
side,
my private.
and
on my
5
private.
feet and 5 feet on.
Another 5 feet from line of property.
Correct, so
Good night,
8 feet total from your
8 foot.
from your
8
wall
foot
to their
total.
wall.
From my building to your building, it's 8 foot.
Correct.
Good, thank you very much.
Very well.
Thank you.
And will the windows be opening outwards or just like up and down?
No, the windows open, they're not casement windows, so they'll just be either like a double hung or single hung window up and down, or a small awning that opens a little bit, but they're not casement windows that roll out.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Campesano, like as you had indicated earlier with the stenographer, I haven't been able to really relay the information that I gathered today to them, to see if they have any other questions. So I don't know if they have any other questions at the moment.
Mr. Richards, take your time. I'm not rushing you, I'm just
You
saying,
can translate to them.
No, it's all right. Anytime you want to see.
All right, that's all for questions
Okay.
at the moment.
Okay, so at this point, though, if they don't have other questions, you will have an opportunity to make a statement. Yeah, so don't sit down because that's next. So
well,
unless
do
there's-
you want to talk to them before you?
Yeah, just the only statement is,
Hold on one second. Mr. Maselli, are you finished up?
Yeah, he only had one witness.
No, but I mean, is Al done testifying?
Yes, we're
Okay.
finished. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
You can proceed with your, sorry, I can't see you behind the computer screen.
yeah, just,
And we just have to get you sworn in because you're making a statement.
I affirm. Frank Richard on behalf of Michael Morgano, Pietro Morgano, and Carmela Bellomo, the property owners of Lot 9, Block 305, Lot 19. So my only statement is that at the moment, well, first off, I'd like to make known that these 3 individuals are, I believe, all of our elders, older than everyone in this room, and they have been here since 5:30, the meeting got a little late start. But the important thing for the record is they are the grantees of the sole and exclusive dominion, use, and control of a certain part of land that's 35 by 10 feet. That's recorded in Book 08260, pages 00274, 00275, 00276, and 00277. And that also, that is binding on the respective parties and their respective heirs, successors, and assigns. And that easement is the sole and exclusive dominion, use, and control of the said easement.
Okay.
And the reason that they have been here this long is they wanted to protect all of their rights, titles, and interests.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Richard, I do believe that the applicant has acknowledged that on the record as well.
Yes, we did speak, but I just didn't want this to believe that this has been like an ongoing conversation. This conversation just happened a few moments ago.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you for that. And thank you for being so patient.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Have a good night, everyone. Get home safe. Okay, so at this point, if you'd like your closing statements, Mr. Maselli?
Keep it brief. This is an empty lot. It's been an empty lot. It was vacant for years before that. Doctor's Hall hasn't been there for a long time. It's a nice building. It's going to bring some vibrancy to an area that needs it. And ask that the board vote to approve the application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maselli. And I do agree, I think it is a very nice application. I think the building at 6 stories is nice. I appreciate the putting on the record that you would be honoring the easements and working with the neighbors because, you know, we have neighbors in our community that have been there for a long time and have seen that neighborhood change, and we want to just continue to be good neighbors to those that, you know, continue to be good neighbors to us. So I ask that anything that goes on, that you do continue to work with them. Commissioners, is there anyone else that would like to put something on the record, a comment? Okay. Okay, so with that said, I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Application has been approved.
Okay, thank you, and have a good evening, everyone.
I hate to do this to you, but we still have resolutions. I'll go fast. P22-033, Bayonne Luxury Water Walk. Site is 219 West 5th Street, Block 301.01, and lots 1 and 6. This was an extension that the board approved this evening. Can I get a motion and a second to approve it?
So moved.
I'll second.
On the vote?
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Vice Chair Velardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker. Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Next, P23-030, Zara Realty, Mohammed Chaudhry. Site is 7 West 8th Street, Block 283, Lot 23.01, also an extension.
I'll move.
Second.
On the vote?
Chairperson.
Aye.
Vice Chair.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker. Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Next extension is P-22-032, QOZ Prospect Urban Renewal LLC, and that's 33 Prospect Avenue, and that was extended to April 11, 2026. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson.
Aye.
Vice Chair.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker. Commissioner
Veloz.
Thank you. Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
You were faster than me tonight. Next is P-24-035, 40 Cottage Street. Site is 80-84 East 25th Street, Block 442, Lot 14. That was an application we heard at the last meeting. Can I get a motion and a second to
I'll
approve that?
move.
I'll second.
On the vote?
Chairperson.
Aye.
Vice Chair. Commissioner Booker. Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Next is the area needs. First is P21-014, 62.5-72 Prospect Avenue, Block 449, lots 21, 22, 23. Motion and a second.
I'll move.
Second.
And on the vote, Chairperson?
Aye.
Vice Chair?
Aye.
Commissioner Booker? Commissioner Veloz?
Aye.
Commissioner Locke?
Aye.
Next is P-24-034. That is 626-628 Avenue E, Block 405, Lot 31. Can I get a motion and a second?
On the vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, P-24-017, that's 33-37 East 18th Street, Block 226, lots 12, 13, and 14. All in favor, vote aye. Anybody opposed, vote nay.
Hold on.
Aye.
Hold on. It's listed as an AINR.
I didn't read that, though.
Okay,
It's a redevelopment plan.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll move.
I'll second.
I think,
Aye.
I think we had the motion in a second. P-24-016, that's an area in need for 745-747 Broadway in City Block 139, lots 18 and 19.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You don't need me anymore. Motion to, motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Included in that aye.
Yes. We just said it really fast.